And if any of you have any other ideas or think that we may have left out some racing techniques, by all means, give us a call. Or maybe, Gabriel, you can talk to them about how to get a hold of us going to the
website.
Yeah.
The website's www.flytorry.com. I've got a new development site that's up right now, although it's still really under development, but it's a lot of the new stuff that I've been working on at DEV, like dev.flytorry.com. You guys can take a look at that, and I'd actually appreciate any sort of feedback that we have from our audience to see what they think about it.
Well, we have one of our most famous callers on the air right now with us all the way from Scotland, and this is a gentleman by the name of Murray. Murray, can you hear us okay?
I think we got to turn on his phone somehow.
Okay, we're going to give him another try. Murray, can you hear us?
Technical difficulties in the new studio.
Well, new studio is to be expected.
There we go. Murray, how you doing?
Not bad, not bad. Sacrificing another great day's flying.
Oh, my God, just so you can talk to us the first day on the radio talk show.
Not just that, been updating all the websites, emailing everybody that we've got on the contact list in the UK to let them know the new web address and the show times.
Wonderful.
So hopefully that will help give it a good kickstart.
Cool. Oh, Murray, that's awesome, man. Well, you probably, they do have the website up now, and are you online?
Yes, I am indeed. I was
good.
Listening earlier on to the Powered Show just to check everything was okay, and checking out last night, and I spoke to Sam as well. So just, as I say, just trying to get everything up to date so that anybody that's looking at the sites we have over in the UK will have the up-to-date information and will be able to get in and listen to the show.
Cool. Hey, Murray, how's it sound? Does it sound better than
It sounds good.
Does it?
Yeah, I've only heard bits of it because I went out, called up the local air traffic control and did half an hour's ground handling. you got to go out sometimes.
Exactly.
Plus the wing was a bit damp. We've been getting some really nice sea breeze flying, but you tend to get quite a bit of moisture, so the visibility is maybe 7-10 kilometres, but in a bit of haze. So by the end of the day, the wing's just that wee bit damp.
Right. Awesome.
Just nip out and get it dried in the air.
What do you do? Have to bring it in every night and put it around the campfire, or what?
He sticks it near his dryer.
Are you serious?
10 minutes of flying and that's it. It's bone dry.
Yeah. He's got, but you also put it near your dryer, yeah? He takes the dryer hose and puts it in it.
In the middle of winter we can do that. Take the vent hose out of tumble dryer.
We're going to have to do a segment someday with you on cold, chilly weather flying and how to dry your glider out.
Well, if we ever have any cold, chilly weather over here.
What are you talking about, Murray? If you ever have it, what are you talking about? If you ever have cold, chilly weather, I mean. What's it been since December?
Probably, I'm very rarely flying with gloves at the moment. It's really nice.
This guy's an animal.
I'm not an animal.
No.
Anyway, a technical question. You had me intrigued when I was listening earlier. So
yes.
I'm going to plead my ignorance here. On the race, is it a running start or is it standing start? In other words, are they flying when they pass the point or is it from takeoff?
No, it's canopy start on the ground.
Right, that explains. I would presume that. Well, one of the things that we use is that what you guys are doing is you're taking off and going out, and then you're turning.
Right.
Okay. Well, what we do is we pull the wing up, which is usually a double bounce, which would lose me a few seconds, but it means that the wing is perfect, fully inflated, rock solid once it's above me.
Right.
As I ease towards the edge, if I'm going to do a left beat, as I go towards the edge, my path over the ground with my feet alters to the right. So as I leave the ground, I already have the roll in to the left. So I don't actually have to use any brakes at all to turn.
That's it's an interesting point. It was something I was actually going to bring up while my dad was talking about some of the technical things.
Yeah.
I was thinking that some of the more successful racers, what they were doing is they were kind of slipping, not really heading out into the wind, not really heading parallel to the ridge, but almost side slipping down the side of the cliff so that they didn't have to use big airs, so they didn't have to, do anything drastic to get down. Because as soon as they hit the lift band, if they hit it straight on, they'd go straight up, and then they'd have problems with penetration. If they hit it parallel, they'd get kind of blown off to the side, and they'd be off the course. So You did it, a couple of other pilots did it, Dad, where you guys kind of went off at an angle, just like Murray's talking about, but you had the one wingtip pointed down towards the ridge, and it just allowed you to slip down.
Yeah, so it does two things. It means that you have no brake needed on the turn, which is obviously much more efficient. Then you're smoothly onto the speed bar. The other thing you can do is if you stay cross-brake reverse launch, only for skilled pilots obviously, but if you stay cross-brake reverse launch, and this fills in with an article that should be hopefully in the next edition of the magazine, and also some of the bits up on the Paraboffin website, one of the current discussions we have, and it gives the wing more Andreal, probably mispronounced, that essentially when you're in the cross position, the wing on the risers going up are almost the same length, but on the outer lines from the risers and the tip lines, they've got further to go, and that provides more of a curve in the wing, and it makes a significant increase in speed. And this is most commonly seen in pilots trying to launch on a really nice day, but when it's a wee bit windy within the compression, as soon as they turn to face forwards, that's when they start having problems, and that's when they start being dragged back.
Right.
You can easily get about another 5 knots out of a wing when you're still crossed.
One of the things, Murray, that we quickly learned to really get the fastest time in from start to finish, the guys that usually could do the fastest are the ones that use their brakes minimal.
Yeah.
And so you were making all these corrections going down the ridge, not with brakes. The only time that we really used brakes was when we made the turn point, and at that point we'd really crank it on. But yeah, it was totally, takeoff, landing.
We quite often, I mean, I can do two styles of flying. I can certainly use the brakes as well to steepen the turn, but it's weight shift first. So again, coming to the end point on the turn, more for normal flying as well, because obviously a lot of listeners don't race, they're into normal flying. As we approach the end of the beat, we weight shift slightly into the hill. Now this is more for using lift band. That takes you slightly inwards from the main lift band, but also means that you're then ready to do the swing for the roll out turn to turn you round. Now in normal flying, that means you spend much more of your time going through the middle of the lift band when you're into wind and your ground speed is slowest, so that's obviously much more efficient, less relevant for racing. But the other thing on it is doing zero brake turns where you're purely weight shifting alone, and you can actually build up a phenomenal amount of speed exactly the same way as a sailplane turns. I mean, I reckon when I'm doing pure weight shift turns where I'm touching the risers together with the hard harness, I'm probably putting on about 10 knots on my airspeed at least on the turns, rather than slowing down.
Hey, Murray, we're going to have to take a break here real quick.
Break? Yep.
Yeah, it's very interesting what you're talking about. I think we'll stay on that topic when we get back. So
sure.
Great. We're
short break or a long break?
I think it's going to be a short one.
I'll just hold on line.
Thanks.
Back. This is the voice of the Internet talk around the globe, the World Talk Radio. You're listening to the Paraglider Show with David and Gabriel Jebb, and we're live online with Murray out of Scotland. Murray, you back with us?
I am indeed.
All right. Murray, you might have heard earlier when Gabriel and I were talking about this new studio, you would not believe it. You would not believe it. It's just the most awesome radio studio I've ever been in my life, and I've been in a few.
Well, hopefully sometime later this year I'll get to see you guys, so might get to see the studio as well.
It's not might. It's a guaranteed. You're gonna come and visit us. You just got to get some money, right?
Yeah, I've got to get enough in the business so I can disappear off for a couple of weeks. Yeah, usual story in life.
How's the flying in Scotland right now?
How's the flying? Well, we had one of the chaps up who's gone on to join the BHPA, which is the sort of main organisation here, because that's where all the clubs are, where he lives. He was travelling up from the other end of the country. And on his first day, or rather weekend there, apparently they were so impressed with him. All these guys are coming across saying, wow, how do you do all this stuff? Tip touching, which you've talked about and I've talked about.
Right.
And things like that. And they said, you're not qualified yet. I go, wow. So he sat and breezed the exam. I think he got 92% on the exam, so he's just waiting to get signed off. But we were doing a sort of trip around Scotland, and we haven't been having brilliant flying conditions for the type, depending on who was there. But almost every day's been flyable. We've been doing good tasks, having good flights, just not vast, hour-long flights.
Cool.
But that still puts me up to just under 90 hours this year.
Wow.
So
The,
that's 5 times what most pilots fly in a year.
yeah, absolutely. The guy that just got signed up with the BHPA, is that was the gentleman you were talking about earlier that was traveling the distance to come
Yep,
take the lessons?
yep.
Cool.
So,
Cool.
I mean, we've heard this quite a few times. While I might be sort of, shall we say, a bit unpopular with some individuals within the mainstream, is almost every time we get somebody coming across, whether it's to me or to somebody that flies with the club, they come across to say, you know, we have not seen people doing this stuff.
Right.
You mentioned when you were at, was it Banjana, the motor clinic?
Right, right.
And you had the 2 kids you took off the beach.
Yep.
20 minutes later,
Right.
and they're going, you know, it's the whole approach. It's not the length of time you've been doing something. It's the how and why of your approach.
Right. Well, that's awesome, man. That
The
just
old question everything. We've heard this before.
right, right. Well, it just gives a lot of credibility to you, I think, and you know, hopefully you'll have some more people coming up your way.
Yeah, well, hopefully.
The
The racing is definitely something I'd be much more interested in learning much more about, because it's not something I've really done apart from, as you know, I compete against myself rather than other people. But nonetheless, it's something that gives you a yardstick to work with.
right.
But the general view seems to be fly slow for lift. I've seen me sitting in a ridge and just let's have some fun, some doing massive weight shift turns, no brakes at all, leaning right over, pulling the risers so they touch, and you're building up the speed and you're doing a very smooth, and then you look down. Not that you're not paying attention to where you are, but you look down and you're now 150 feet higher than you were.
Wow.
Because gliders, when they're flying fast as a general rule, are flying much more efficiently, particularly the modern gliders.
Murray, if some of our UK listeners would like to try to get a hold of you or maybe do some flying with you, is there an email address, website you can give out?
Yeah, there's all the websites. The one that we're currently promoting, because again it's a discussion group, it's to get people thinking about the actual theory, what's in the books, and does it make sense? Because, as I've said before, a lot of them are based on the original books, which were copied illustrations from powered aircraft books. And they missed the point. They copied a really good illustration and they've worked beyond it. So you ask a lot of pilots and they're saying pitch and angle of attack are connected, where of course we know there's really no connection between them. If you're doing a loop, you've got to keep the angle of attack all the way around. The pitch is going to have weird numbers all the way through. So the Paragliding one's quite good, and we're trying to get more and more people involved in that, putting up ideas so everybody's thinking. And as we trace the various hits that we get on it, we've been getting a lot of people looking at these things from the States, which is, I think, great news, and Japan, all over. So it's really good. But the precisionparagliding.biz is probably the easiest one to link in through.
So that's Precision Paragliding, PREEC.
Yeah, but of course, the easiest way to find us, have a look at the Torry website, have a look at the links.
Absolutely. There you go. So back onto the racing. So you're saying the turns you were making, you're turning towards the hill, then you've got all the
a very not so much turning towards the hill, but a very gentle swing to slightly swing out. Then as the pilot swings in slightly towards the hill, you're then turning. So it's not from a standing start your turn.
Okay.
It does two things. It takes the glider, if you've got a lift band that's set out from the hill slightly, which is quite usual, it takes you in hillside of the lift band very slightly, and then you spend much more of your time. The longest part of a turn is when you're pointing out from the hill. If you watch a lot of pilots, particularly relatively newcomer pilots, they're actually flying out of the lift band, which then involves them turning even more and more into the hill.
Right.
To get back into the lift band. Now, clearly, this is not a good thing. If they get tip claps, it can really turn them in.
Right.
The conventional view is you never want to be doing this bit turn into the hill, but if it takes you gently, you're only changing your path by maybe 10 degrees. It just gives you that gentle bit coming in, out of the lift band on the inner side. Then almost all the time you're doing the slow into wind movement. You're actually staying or passing through the solid middle of the lift band. And then you don't have to turn as much back in if you've flown out of it.
Okay. So then, if we wanted to do it slowly and smoothly, though.
So say you're on the beat going along to the left. You weight shift slightly left towards the end of your turn. So you're heading straight along the hill, the drift taking you slightly in.
Right.
You then continue it and smoothly transit to right weight shift, and only if you need to, you then steepen the turn smoothly with the brake coming on, 1, 2, 3, brake going off, 4, 5, 6. Continue the weight shift on, and it brings you back round. And it lets you drift back into the solid middle of the lift band. As you reach the end or approaching the end of the right-hand beat, you do the same thing. You weight shift slightly to the right, then smoothly transit it to weight shift left, steepen the turn, 1, 2, 3, ease off the brake, 4, 5, 6, continue the weight shift, and back in.
Are you of the opinion then that a steeper bank angle is going to give you a more efficient turn, or not quite as steep?
It depends on your DHV. The higher the rating of the DHV, the steeper and faster the turn, the more the dive you get, but you get 95% of your energy back, which is in height.
Right.
Well,
If you're flying a DHV one wing, you're probably better doing an adverse yaw, a slower, flatter turn, and adverse yawing the wing round.
Right.
So you change it as to the relationship of the wing that you're flying.
Yeah, this is kind of a little technique that a lot of the racers used, and it throws you into the turn. You come out of that turn much faster, and actually with speed bar on, oftentimes diving out of the turn. In other words, losing some altitude, because it's not necessarily the most efficient way to turn if you're trying to stay up. But in racing, again, trying to stay low, you're in that ridge band, swinging into this turn with full speed bar. You're diving out of it and staying low and not losing any speed. You got a lot of momentum when you go into those swinging
Certainly
turns.
keep your energy in, although I would avoid the throwing and the swinging. It's more progressive the way we do it. Rather, the sort of swinging really implies it's more a gentle setting up for the turn, so you've got that running start into the change in direction.
I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, because I've just been recently playing with the concept of just how to get more bank out of the wing, and it seems like what sets the bank angle on the wing is that transition period from you flying straight and either smoothly and consistently rolling into whichever direction you want to turn, or then what I've been doing lately is snapping it. And what it does is, because there is somewhat of a delay between the time you're giving control input and the wing doesn't actually snap in place as well, but it starts it moving quite a bit faster,
right.
Which allows you to get a much steeper bank angle.
Right.
Whereas you can give a smoother input, and the wing will only bank so far.
I would normally reckon when I'm doing zero brake weight shift turns with the rigid harness, I could be looking at bank angles easily of 70 degrees.
I wouldn't disagree with you. I think you could probably get 90 degrees though if you did like a smooth weight shift outside and then snapped it back inside. I've been playing with that a lot, like trying to do no-handed wing overs and like get them really big, and it seems to be it seems to be in the transition period where most pilots don't move their weight fast enough.
You've hit it spot on. If you mistime it by even a fraction of a second trying to do a wing over, you'll just kill it.
Right.
You've got to get that transit just at the right point, not too early and certainly not too late. It's definitely something that needs practice and skill.
So it helps if you're a good dancer and have rhythm.
It certainly does.
Awesome. So
well,
I'm
go
sorry.
ahead, Gabby.
I was just gonna ask what else is happening up in the Scotland right now.
Well, really all we're doing is, as I say, updating all the websites, trying to get the new links up, a few other bits and bobs on that. We've had some quite nice press coverage as well, and a lot more people of interest. Some of the local, the RNL, my chap that I think I mentioned on the previous show with the lifeboat, hopefully this is going to come off this year, and we'll do some sea landings.
Cool.
And we're about to start doing some filming of low-level parachute deployments, hopefully in the next few weeks. I've got about half a dozen different variations on styles of reserves, so the idea is not packing them fully because we're just deploying them to see how they deploy. But hopefully we'll get a lot of video footage of that.
Are you going to be doing live deployments, or are you going to tie them up to something and drop them?
No, I'll just deploy them.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, if you're going to design a totally new system to deploy parachutes, you better know exactly what a parachute's going to do.
Right.
And whether it's twin riser, single riser, pull down apex, or straight conical. So that the idea is to play about with all the different ones we have and really, get a gut feeling for it.
Are all of them paragliding specific reserves or no?
One's a hang gliding one, but all the other ones are paragliding specific.
Make sure the bridle on the hang gliding one's not too long, yeah?
Yeah, I know about that. Deploy below rather than above.
Okay. And then the other thing is that usually they have like a real long the bridle lines will come and they'll actually it'll be a fairly short cascade, but then you'll have a real long strap.
Yeah.
So just
I think the one to recommend is Dan Poindent. I'll probably mispronounce the gentleman's name. Dan Poindenter's book.
Right. I know.
I think that's the definitive book. It's got so much information on it, and he's been doing so many things with parachutes for the last 40, 50 years. And certainly that's the book that I use when I'm really looking for in-depth information into any shoots.
Right. Well, cool. I'll email you some stuff that we have also.
That'd be brilliant.
I haven't been too onto it lately because we've been so busy, but I'm back on it. So I'll send you some stuff that we have on reserves.
Murray, we're just about ready to wrap up this segment, but before we do, I just want to, on the air, get you to set up this goal. When are you coming to San Diego? You have to give us a date.
You got to commit to it.
That's going to give you something to aim for.
Ask my bank manager.
Well, we're gonna have to get you out here, man.
The sooner the better. I mean, the flights are very reasonable. It's just a case of being able to get out of the country for ideally at least a couple of weeks.
Right.
And it would have been, shall we say, in the past life, it would have been trying to cover 3 Mondays, but I think what we'll have to do is make sure it covers 3 Tuesdays.
Perfect.
But yeah, no, I really do hope to get the chance of getting out to see you guys, and hopefully we'll get more of a pilots coming over to Scotland and more of folks from the UK coming over to Torry.
Cool, and vice versa,
That'd be good, yeah. And the exchange of ideas, everybody wins.
You're enticing us, I'll tell you. It always sounds very interesting when you come on the air and talk about flying in that weather. Make sure when you come to San Diego you bring plenty of sunscreen.
Blue-eyed blonde.
Yeah.
Beware.
Yeah. Okay, big guy. Hey, love talking to you, Murray. Thank you so much.
All the best, guys.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Okay, we'll be taking a break, and stay tuned. We'll be right back. You're listening to the Paragliding Show.